What is good, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm having a quarter pounder with cheese from McDonald's for a mukbang. Today I'm having this in honor of one of my favorite filmmakers, Quentin Tarantino. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Quentin Tarantino. So I felt he's a master filmmaker, but one thing he is really good at is using food in his movies. And so quarter pounder with cheese, anybody who's seen Pulp Fiction knows that is referenced. Does anybody know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in France?
Royale with cheese.
A Royale with cheese. So I wanted to use something from one of his movies, and also take this time to talk about his movies and honor him as, just pay tribute to him as one of my favorite filmmakers. He is and I got fries here, of course. Sweet and sour sauce with the fries. That's how I do it. And yeah, I thought this would be just an excuse and time to talk about Quentin. I feel like every generation has like their director, their person that they can watch their movies. And you know, 70s they might have had Kubrick. There's been De Palma in the 80s, Spielberg. Filmmakers that you look forward to going to, and Tarantino references he looked forward to going to his favorite director's movies just like a holiday. So now that's how we treat him. But I'm gonna eat this burger a little bit. Quarter pounder with cheese. This might be the first time I ever got a quarter pounder. I got some ketchup here as well. For the fries. You know, it's nice to honor artist, and he's one of my favorite filmmakers. I've seen all of his movies, and I was actually thinking about it. I was like, of all like filmmakers who've made more than 5 movies, at least I've seen all of his. And from Kill Bill till Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, his most recent one, I've seen all of them in the theater. And then of course I've seen his other ones as well. Ironically, some of my favorite ones I have not seen in the theater, but it's all good. I just, going to see a Quentin Tarantino movie is just an experience, and he's our filmmaker. Anybody who started watching movies in the 90s, he's our guy. I mean, we have David Fincher as well. Spielberg, but I'm not a big Spielberg fan. And like Spielberg wraps everything up in a bow. Tarantino he just knows how to make a movie. He reinvented the gangster movie. Pop culture references. Here's these movies I watch. Here's this TV I watch. He's a fan of art and a fan of movies, and all types of movies. He's made all, and I'm going to rank all of them. He's made westerns. He's made crime movies. He's made war movies. They all have similar themes. He's revised history. He's like big moments in history, like, you know, the Nazis and getting revenge on them, slavery. And also the Manson murders, and he made it his own. Violence, revenge, great dialogue. Dialogue is his strong point. Writing characters. He is a great writer, one of the best to ever do it. Just cool, witty dialogue. Like I say, references movies, pop culture. It's just, and it's like become a part of the fabric of our culture. He worked at a video store, just came from out of the blew onto the scene and blew up. No film school. He said he'd been asked if he go to film school. He said, no, I went to films. Exactly. Sweet and sour sauce on the fries. Trade secret. If you've never done it. Brought back boosted up Samuel L. Jackson's career. I mean, no disrespect to Samuel L. Jackson, but his catalog is built off of Quentin Tarantino. Brought back John Travolta. We're going to talk about all the movies. That's what we're going to get into it. He loves music. Like, he just loves pop culture. Like, and comic books, music, movies, and he references all of them in there. You can tell movies is his favorite. Well, he just loves art, you know? And, I mean, living in LA, growing up in LA, he had an advantage. He had access to a lot of stuff. Yeah, I always look forward to going to his movies. I'm usually there opening weekend, opening day. Always an experience. It's just so cool to have somebody. He's ours, you know. You know, kids like myself that were born in the '80s started watching movies in the '90s, and even people that were maybe a little bit older than that, of course. He if you watch his interviews, you can tell it just like makes you. Anytime I'm like, you know, feeling corny, I like movie nerd, whatever. He makes it worthwhile. He's like this is why you should. This is why movies are great. You know, he loves the art form, and he appreciates it. He knows what the audience want. We want fun characters. We want to hang out movies. That's what he makes. We want to hang out, watch a movie, and escape. And we want to see some bad guys and some good guys. Get it? You know? He's faced some controversy for the violence. But it's in a movie. It's not real. Are we not allowed to have fun with that stuff? It's a way to get it out of our system. Now, my other issue with him as far as controversy goes, he does borrow from movies, Japanese movies in particular. Kill Bill is kind of a rip-off of Lady Snowblood. Django is kind of a remake, but I don't mind it because he does them better or as good, and he doesn't disrespect the original. Yeah, but y'all, I can't wait to talk about all these. I'm gonna rank them, my ranking of his movies. Now, when I rank them, I'm not disrespect anything that's low on the list. I'm not even being disrespectful for it. I'm not even being disrespectful because his worst movie is as good or better than what's out there now. Easily. Any Tarantino movie is better than what's in those theaters now. None of his movies have been sequelized, remade, or rebooted. Now, people tried to rip them off and make their own version of it because he reinvented the genre. No, we were used to gangster movies, you know, like Goodfellas and Casino. And I personally love those. I love Italian gangster movies and just like the mafia style, Scorsese style gangster movies, but they had been done. He made the characters cool, like not like intimidating, but cool. And to think it's been like 30 years since his first movie is insane. It's insane. But he's still, you can tell he still loves movies. Obviously he's become a little bit Hollywood, but he still respects the art form. He only planned on making 10 movies. Kill Bill is one. You know, he intended that to be one movie. The Weinstein brothers put it out as two, you know, more money, you know, and it's easier for audiences, the mass audience, to digest. But 9 movies he has so far. He said, I'm gonna make 10. I really like that. That's one thing I really like about him. He wants to go out on a high note, and I've heard him in interviews. I watch a lot of his interviews and stuff, and he always says, you know, like, because he's a student of film. He knows a lot of directors, but for last movies are not good, and you kind of want to leave the audience wanting more, what could have been type of thing. But yeah, I really respect I want to have a tight 10 movies. I always thought it was cool. Like, I obviously found out about him after several movies had been made, but I always thought it'd be cool if he had made his first 2, which we're going to talk about. And you'll see where my leanings lie with his different types of movies when I rank them. But I always thought he made those 2 movies, wrote a couple cool ones, acted in one, and then just kind of left the business, or just became like a writer. And just really left the people wanting more. But I think 10 is good. I like that. Go out on a high note. Let me finish this and I'm gonna rank his movies. Let me have some of this tasty beverage to wash this down. That's the spot. All right, so let me go through his movies. So if I'm curt, it's because time is a factor. So I'm gonna kind of breeze through the bottom half, and then I'll talk more about the ones I really like. So again, 9 movies. Hateful Eight would be is my least favorite of all of his. Now, length is a big thing with me. Now, Tarantino movies run long. Now, I don't mind long movies, but Hateful Eight to me drags. It's boring in spots, and I feel like he's just kind of watching himself write. And also, it's a Western. I'm not a big fan of his just Westerns in general, so just by default, it falls lower. Death Proof, I would put it number 8. It's his horror film. I really like that Quentin Tarantino made a horror film. Oh yeah, but going back to Hateful Eight, Ennio Morricone does a lot of his scores, so I really appreciate that he brought him in on that. And also he did some music for Death Proof. Again, Death Proof is just a silly grindhouse style horror movie about a killer that's going up and down the highway and killing women. But I love that Tarantino did a horror film. Now, for him to do a horror film, he kind of has to bog himself a little bit. He kind of has to restrict himself. But I think it's cool that he did that, you know. Horror films are considered lower level type of films, which they are. I'm not even going to argue that. Even somebody who likes horror films. But I like that he did it. He did, it was a double feature with Robert Rodriguez's, his buddy, Planet Terror. Shout out to Robert Rodriguez and El Mariachi. Number 7, Django. Again, Western. I'm not a big fan of the Westerns. Revisionist horror movie. The violence is really good. Leo DiCaprio in here steals the show. Yeah, he's the man in it, playing Calvin Candy, a psychopathic, you know, plantation owner who just has disregard for everything. But Leo, this is one of Leo's best roles, and like one of the better. There's lots of good villains in all Tarantino movies, and Calvin Candy's up there. 6, I would put Kill Bill. A little bit too tongue-in-cheek for me. I like the martial arts stuff. I'm not anti that. Martial arts isn't my favorite subgenre of action movies, but he loves Tarantino loves action, loves martial arts movies. Bruce Lee, I love the Game of Death uniform, the backstory with O-Ren Ishii with like the anime. It's just just an old-fashioned revenge story with a woman going to kill people that she was an assassin. They kill off her bridal party, and then she goes to kill the assassins that killed everybody. But yeah, real fun, but a little bit too tongue-in-cheek in spots. Again, really good score, good music. Anytime there's about to be a murder, I like that. But yeah, a little bit too tongue-in-cheek for me. Not my favorite. Number 5, I would put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. His most recent movie. It was real fun. Also long. Again, nothing wrong with that. It needs to be long. Revisionist history. Tarantino doing what he wanted to do regarding the Manson murders. That's in the backdrop, but it's really about just an aging actor transitioning from old Hollywood to new Hollywood. Leo DiCaprio is like a TV star. His best friend and buddy is his stuntman Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is one of my Cliff Booth, I'm sorry, is one of my favorite characters in any Tarantino movie. I love him. He's just this rugged guy who just goes with the flow of life and is just brutal. Absolutely brutal. One of the best ending scenes to any Tarantino movie. Most violent. The violence is relatively toned down during the movie, but it makes up for it at the end. Because I was watching, I was like, it's violent, but for Tarantino, but like, it all makes up for itself at the end. And the fact that you have the Manson murders, the pending doom of that in the backdrop, that there's a lot of good tension scenes. He's good at doing what's called subversion on a massive level, meaning he gets the audience thinking how he wants them to think. He uses tension to do that. Now, what's really cool with Tarantino, and I found this out with like Cliff when he was talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he talks about his characters like they're real people. And I think that's really good. He gets so involved with them. Even characters like the Gimp in Pulp Fiction, he had a whole backstory. He was a hitchhiker that got picked up on the highway, but like we didn't need to know that. But for him to write the character, he did that. He talks about these people like they're real characters. He loves his characters. It's clear in the writing, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood makes Hollywood look absolutely beautiful. It's cool to see like 60s Hollywood. I really like that, and it's transitioning into a new era. Number 4. This was the top 4 were a little bit tough for me, but I have my leanings. I put Inglourious Bastards at number 4. Getting to see Hitler get his face blown up was pretty cool. Group of rogue Jewish soldiers getting revenge on Nazis. I mean, it's super cool. Donnie Donowitz, his buddy Eli Roth, also a horror filmmaker, beats that one guy in the head with a baseball bat. Brad Pitt is great in here. Brad Pitt is an underrated Tarantino actor. He's only been in a couple movies, but he's always great when he's in them. I love him in here. Aldo the Apache. It's just a fun movie. Again, revenge movie, but it's needed revenge, and he gets to tell his version of history. Now, number 3, I put Jackie Brown. Of his crime trilogy. This is it's my least favorite, but I enjoy it a lot. The music's really good in here. Also, like I said, the way he uses music in his movies is really good. I love Jackie Brown. Might be one of my favorites in terms of music across 110th Street. But one of my favorite covers when the Brothers Johnson cover Strawberry. Letter number 23, Shuggy Otis' song. Really cool scene in there. Sam Jackson is absolutely at his peak. This might be my favorite Samuel L. Jackson movie. He's just super cool in this movie, even though he's a scumbag. He's just like a gun runner. Robert De Niro gets in. There's like little side love stories. Robert De Niro has this thing with like this little, surfer gal, and Robert Forrester and Pam Grier bring back. Pam Grier is super cool in this movie as Jackie Brown. Her and Robert Forster's character Max Cherry are planning like a revenge plot against I can't remember his name, but Samuel L. Jackson's character. I feel stupid. I can't remember his name. Chris Tucker's in there. Has a nice little funny side role, of course. Before I get into the top 2, my top 2, because those are like pretty much 1A and 1B. I'm gonna talk about like his movies he didn't direct. My favorite acting role of Quentin Tarantino's is from Dusk Till Dawn, which is just kind of a thriller crime movie that turns into a horror movie like that. Tarantino wrote the screenplay. His friend Robert Rodriguez directed it. Really fun movie. But his acting, as we're talking about, he plays this like sociopath that also likes to cuddle. It's very weird, but his acting in that movie is really good. Natural Born Killers, great love story, passionate love story. Tarantino disavows it. He doesn't like it because Oliver Stone, who directed it and kind of changed some of the material. I still enjoy it. It's still fun. Great the way they cut the scenes together. It's anti-news, anti-trusting authority. So I like it for that, you know. But probably my favorite one of that is True Romance. He sold True Romance to fund the making of his first movie. True Romance is one of my favorite movies of all time. I would put it in my top 10 movies of all time. It gets the Tarantino violence, the stylized violence, the great dialogue, action sequences. It's super cool, but it has this really great love story at its core between Clarence and Alabama. It's a great love story. I mean, he got questioned about it because when you're gonna ever make a romance movie, he's like, I did. And he didn't direct it, but it's pretty much exactly his vision. Tony Scott directed it, but that's what love should be. It's about sacrifice, about really sacrificing, and honesty. Two people that are just honest. They've shared interests, but they're honest with one another, and that is the foundation of the relationship. And they also are willing to sacrifice for the greater good of their partner and the relationship. Also has a beautiful score in there. Hans Zimmer, You're So Cool is one of my favorite pieces in any movie, and it's just bum 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 bum. It's just super. I love it. It's one of my favorite scores, and there's scenes in there that get you very emotional, and it's just like, you know, that it would be beautiful to have somebody like that. My number 2 Tarantino movie, and these were really hard to rank. This is really just subjective to some minor aesthetic things. But this is pretty much 1A and 1B. But I'll talk Pulp Fiction, reinvented the gangster films. No more mafia. It wasn't mafia movies, and everybody started trying to make these cool gangster movies after this. Non-linear story. So he tells, and Pulp Fiction, a Pulp Fiction book is just like this small, little, tight story. And that's exactly what this is. It's just this tight, little, once upon a time story that happens in LA. Boxer, a gangster, the gangster's henchman, Jules and Vincent, John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson. They're back and forth in this, the way they talk to one another. This movie is his most quotable. The Wolf is one of my favorite characters. Just imagine like you're in the worst jam of your life and you can just call somebody to clean it up. And one of my favorite quotes in any Tarantino, and it's underused, but I use it a lot. And I use it a lot at my job, or if I'm just kind of being, you know, I'm worried about time. I would say if I'm curt, it's because time is a factor. I love, it's a nice cool little line. But yeah, tons of quotable dialogue in here that has just seeped into my subconscious and other people's subconscious. It bookends itself. It ends where it starts, and you don't see that ending coming. It's a great gangster movie. It's one of the best gangster movies of all time, and it's one of the best movies of all time. It's probably the best movie one of the best movies of the 90s. I would put it in their top 5 movies of the 90s. And what else? What was I gonna say about it? Like it's cinematically, it's better than my number 1 pick, but and great music in there throughout. Chuck Berry with the dance scene with Uma Thurman and John Travolta. That's just a fun scene, even though he's homaging Federico Fellini's 8.5. And my number 1 favorite Quentin Tarantino movie is Reservoir Dogs. And it's only appropriate, I'm going to talk a little bit at length about this one. This is his first movie he directed, and it opens with just a group of guys, a group of gangsters, just talking about music and talking about nothing, but you're getting to know everybody. Quentin Tarantino is a part of the gangsters, he acted in it, so I think that's super appropriate. But they're just talking about nothing. They're talking about Madonna. They're talking about movies. They're talking about tipping. My favorite character in the film is Mr. Pink, played by Steve Buscemi, who's also plays Buddy Holly ripoff in Pulp Fiction. Yeah, I forgot to mention Jackrabbit Slim's, probably one of the coolest restaurants ever in any movie. But he talks about tipping. He doesn't tip. He obviously has money, but he doesn't tip. And they're going on, oh man, these waitresses get paid nothing, and blah, 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 blah. And like, I always thought about that myself, like, why do we tip? Because these servers are getting paid like $3 an hour. Why isn't the restaurant paying them at least minimum wage? So we're making up the fact that they're paying them under the table and illegally. Now, I don't mind tipping them. I do tip. But principally, I'm like, you know, if you're just doing a standard job, like, why isn't your employer paying you? Why don't we tip people at McDonald's? This is the world's smallest violin playing for just the waitresses. I love that. I love that line. But the rest of the movie, after the diner scene in the opening, is a bank heist movie where you never see the bank heist. It's the only movie about a bank heist where you never see the actual heist. That is high-level storytelling. Great dialogue, great character. Mr. White, the old professional, going back old school gangster. Mr. Pink, the unhinged younger guy who wants to stay within the rules and the boundaries. He's my favorite. He's just a little bit off. He's a little bit crazy, but I love him. These are just a bunch of psychopaths. Mr. Blonde, who is the absolute psycho, who will kill anybody. The other guys will kill cops. Mr. Blonde will kill citizens if it means getting done what he has to get done. I love Chris Penn in this movie as nice guy Eddie. Great foreshadowing in the movie. There's a rat in the crew. You're trying to figure out who the rat is, so it's kind of a whodunit. There's a little bit of ripoff, I believe. City on Fire, he ripped off from, it's an old Japanese gangster movie. But it's so cool. It takes place in a warehouse. This is where it beats out Pulp Fiction for me. It takes place in one enclosed setting. I love movies like that, like Breakfast Club. Just takes place in the library, just in the warehouse. It's tight. It's absolutely tight and perfect to me. It's a perfect movie. Obviously, you can find some holes and flaws in there, but the way the characters talk to one another, again, references to music, movies, pop culture. Tim Roth is great in here. Everybody is. By the weakest part in there to me is Joe Cabot, who's kind of the boss. And music in here is really cool. You get some nice 70s throwbacks during the torture scene. Kay Billy's super sound of the 70s. Stephen Wright, who's just, this understated voice, is like the radio host. It's just so many little things that work, and it's an hour and a half. So of course I like the shorter movie. I like the ending. It has more closure to me than Pulp Fiction. So that's kind of where it also beats out. I love it's a closed ending. That's it. But yeah, I love all of Quentin Tarantino's movies. So really, any of these I would watch any day of the week. They are all good. They all hold up tremendously. Guys, for any of you who watched this length of the video, I greatly appreciate you taking the time. Also, happy birthday to Quentin Tarantino. Thank you for your movies you made. I hope the last one's good, and I'll support anything else he does. Theater, novelizations, whatever. I appreciate, as a child of the 90s, I appreciate his art and his creativity. Guys, thank you for joining me today. I greatly appreciate your time. Y'all take care, be well, and have a great day.